Lifeboat Live, we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hey, everybody. Good morning. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Glad you're all here. Glad you're all awake. Miss V, a little tired this morning? I saw that Wages posted a video and took it down too. I don't know what that's all about. I sent him an email, but I haven't heard back from him yet. So if I hear why that is, I'll let you know. Sometimes, you post something and then you think it's not good. I mean, that happens, and Mark is hard on himself. So that could be the cause of that. So today we're going to talk about adderall. And this is a subject that I probably should have done a really long time ago, because there's a lot of people that write to me about this. It is one of the most abused substances on the planet. It's one of the reasons that currently there is a shortage that is causing people to panic worldwide. That shortage was caused by a company called Teva Pharmaceuticals. During the C+ math thing that we had going on, a lot of companies started to shift everything they were doing to work on that problem, right? And in doing that, that caused a lot of companies to cut down on production of other things. Also, then the fact that a lot of people weren't able to go to work. So Teva, one of the largest manufacturers of this substance, wasn't getting it done for a while. Sorry. And for that reason, there has been a shortage of this substance for a hot minute, and it is becoming an issue in major cities. It's not an issue all across the entire United States, but it's definitely an issue in major cities. So why is there such a demand for this substance? If you go back 20 years ago, 2% of college students had ADHD or presented as having ADHD. These days, that number is 12%. So in the last 2 decades, we've had a 600% increase in the number of people who claim to have ADHD. And I say claim to have ADHD because this is one of the most misdiagnosed ailments on the planet. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is, believe it or not, there is a huge effect from a silly movie called Limitless. If you've ever seen the movie, the actor Bradley Cooper, he's been nominated for a few Academy Awards, pretty good actor, ridiculously handsome, popular among women. Bradley Cooper plays a person whose life is completely changed by this magic pill that turns him from a fairly normal guy into a Superman who can do almost anything. And it is a long-standing joke that the drug in Limitless is adderall. And it has made a lot of people believe that the drug turns you into a Superman of sorts. And if you think about what it does, Adderall is a mixture of a couple of different amphetamines. One is dextroamphetamine, and the other is a one of the more common, but they're salt amphetamines, right? And there's actually four different types, but two main categories, four different types of speed. Call it whatever you want. Amphetamine is a speed. It is given very often to kids to combat attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The ADHD is caused by legitimate ADHD is caused by a lack of a transmitter, which makes it difficult in a transmitter in the brain, which makes it difficult for kids to focus. They're all over the place. Their brain is running full speed. Unfortunately, they can't get it to focus in on one thing. By giving kids speed, right, for lack of a better way to put it, it helps people focus in on one thing. And if you've ever done street speed, or you know people who have, you hear the term tweaking. Tweaking is an expression that is usually meant to talk about hyper focusing on one thing. The standard joke is, that people on speed like to take apart VCRs, or they like to disassemble things and put them back together, because it does give you that hyper focus, that focus to where everything else sort of melts out of the way, and whatever you're looking at is the only important thing in life. Now that obviously could create some issues. I could focus. I didn't want to, and they tried not to poison me into focusing. It didn't work. It turned me into an addict. Thank you, doctor. You know what, M. Hunt? I wish that you were the only person with that story, but that really is an issue. And sadly, this is horrendously misdiagnosed. If you have a kid with a little bit of extra energy, or you have a kid that has a difficult time focusing, the first thing they do instantly is try to put that child on drugs, and very often that's not what's needed. Unfortunately, ADHD medication has almost become a babysitter, and it's really very misdiagnosed. At the college level, it's misdiagnosed intentionally by the students. There is a whole horde of people who immediately when they get to college go and tell the doctor all of the different symptoms that they have for ADHD, which they can easily Google and look at online. They're not going to run a test on you of any kind. They're going to listen to what you say, and they're going to prescribe it. It is probably one of the most overprescribed drugs on earth currently, and that's got no end in sight. In fact, it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better, and the reason is that it gives you the ability to stay up really long hours and study, and they think it turns them into this limitless character from the film. There are a ton of drawbacks and side effects to this drug. And sadly, like all speed drugs, in the very beginning, you don't notice any of these. In fact, quite the opposite. For instance, sex. When you first start on Adderall, there's a heightened level of sexual activity. People get amorous, right? There's nothing they want more. And it creates very long sessions of lovemaking, and people think it's the greatest thing in the whole world. It will lead eventually to the exact opposite: decreased levels of any kind of arousal at all, and it can even lead to sexual dysfunction if you do it long enough, impotence, and all kinds of other problems in men. And so this is a substance currently that is being doled out like M&Ms on college campuses all over the United States of America. This is an issue, and so much of what they say about this drug is horse feces. There's really just so much misinformation about it, and I know people, I know family members, I know a lot of people that have fallen into this Adderall trap, and I know some people who are very close to me who I need to, I guess, be careful with how I say this so that it doesn't bum out anybody in my family. But I know individuals that have now been on this and are 4 or 5 years out of school yet continue to do this drug, and it has long-term effects. Now, the real long-term effects we're not going to know for a hot minute, because again, 2 decades ago, 2% of college students were taking this. Now it's 12%. I mean, it's 12%. And I'll tell you something, if that sounds like a big jump, it gets scarier, because in 2020, there was a 15% increase in the number of people who were getting prescriptions for Adderall. In 2019, it was 7.4%. It is steamrolling. And we're going to get to a point where 1 in 4 people on college campuses are taking this stuff, and we're going to get there fast. By the numbers that are happening currently, over 1 out of 1 in 10 are now taking it, a little over that. But the increase is the scary part, how fast this drug is gaining popularity. And as soon as you get to college, it's almost becoming a rite of passage for freshmen to head on down to the doctor and tell them that they have ADHD. Now, if this is a drug that you use periodically, and there are students who do this, they get prescriptions for this stuff, and they will keep it around for finals week, or they'll keep it around for when they need to write a term paper, or whatever the case may be, so that when they need that ability to stay up really late and study really hard, they've got a pill bottle, ready to go. The rest of the time, they sell it. So if you go to any dorm room on any campus in the United States of America, there are 25 people ready to sell you an Adderall pill, just in case you need to study, or in case you want to have a sex session for 6 hours with your significant other. It is a time-released version of speed. And when that first came out, it seemed like a really, really good idea, because very often with any speed product, you're going to go straight up. You're going to level out for a period of time, and you're going to go straight down. With Adderall, you should be getting, in theory, a consistent dose of amphetamine over a long period of time, so that your focus stays where it's supposed to be. Truth be told, if you really do have a deficiency in your brain for Spanx Calhoun says, "I'm here," because can you imagine if your dad was the guy that hosted this? Think of the crap you'd get if you didn't show up. I don't give him any crap. I'm just kidding. Good to see you, Spanky. But one of the problems with this substance is that the abuse that we're seeing is going to lead to problems down the road that we haven't thought about at any level. And this is something that we're so good at in the United States. We are really just a fantastic culture when it comes to abusing drugs until it's too late. If you take enough of this drug, and the vast majority of people who take it are not taking it the way it is prescribed. Plain and simple, they're not. Very often they don't take it on a daily basis, on an everyday thing. Instead, what they do is when they feel like they need it, they take 3 or 4 times what the normal dose is. But it is such an easy drug to get a prescription for. And I know I shouldn't be saying things like this because I'm not trying to encourage it, but it is not a difficult drug to get a doctor to prescribe. There was a period of time when this really was abused because it was not time released. The reason that they put the time release into it was because the popular thing to do was to crush it and snort it. America abusing drugs until it's too late since 1776. Emma Hunt, that would make a great t-shirt. America abusing drugs till it's too late since 1776. God, there's a lot of truth to that. There really is a lot of truth to that. If you need this drug, it is a miracle drug for the people that truthfully need it. For the people who lack the transmitter in the brain to help you focus on a specific thing, this entire class of medicine starts off with Ritalin, goes to Adderall, goes to Dextro, and then goes to Disoxin. And Disoxin, people, I promise you, is methamphetamine. That's all it is. There's the difference between street dope and Disoxin is that Disoxin is made in a lab and it is considerably cleaner, but it is the exact same drug. It really is. So this one of the problems with Adderall, especially as it's being used currently, is you're going to build up a tolerance to it. Once again, because of its misuse. If this was something that you actually needed, then the same dose would do the same thing forever. Does that make sense? If all you needed was a little help with those neurotransmitters, then you could take the Adderall the way it was prescribed, and over the course of your life, never have to increase the dose, and you always get the same effect because it's just enough to stimulate what needs to happen so that you can remain focused, not hyper focused, not tweaking, but just focused, bring you into the normal. My son is prescribed dexamethasone for years. We fought against it, but seriously, after we finally did have him put on it, things really improved with his focus and behavior. It was a huge difference. Tommy Bird, there are many people that need this substance, and for those who do, it is a miracle. I mean, it's nothing short of a miracle for the people that need this. But it makes you wonder if in 20 years we went from 2% of the population needing it to 12% of the population needing it. That probably is not the case. And again, that film really did absolute damage. If you Google Limitless, you're going to come up with all of these different stories about how the film was based on Adderall. They will tell you, and I promise you there's no truth to this. I researched the crap out of it. The guy that wrote this story didn't even know that Adderall existed. But there are stories out there all over the place about people. There's a ton of stories out there about people that are abusing this substance on a daily basis, and all of the different ways that you can abuse it. There are forums on the web, and I don't talk about them because I don't want anybody here going to them. But there are forums all over the internet that are drug forums. And people go there just to talk about the best way to catch a buzz on whatever it is you're doing. It is literally just drug forums. And amazingly, there are doctors that go to these, there are lawyers that go to these, and they discuss the best way to take this drug to get the most bang for your buck, or the best way to take that drug to get the most bang for your buck, which I find frightening as hell. But there are the number of threads, because when you go to these, you're honestly, you're looking at threads, right? And there's a thread on Suboxone, and there's a thread on tar heroin, and there's a thread on, but the Adderall thread is longer than any other thread on any of those forums, because the number of people who are taking this and want to know the best way in the world to try to get higher, the best way in the world to try to take this for maximum, bang for the buck. And sadly, people, this is our country. This is something that we're almost famous for. Now, for the people that really need this, for the people for whom life is almost impossible without this substance, and there are a bunch of them, then this shortage is terrifying, because it means that someone who has been living a very normal life based on a drug that is perfect for what they need, they're now struggling, especially in big cities, especially in college towns, right? So I grew up in the state of Vermont, and the big city in that state. And when I say big city, that's a laugh, right? Because Vermont is so small. But the big city is Burlington, Vermont. And I don't know if Burlington has hit 100,000 people yet, but it's about that size, not huge. But the thing is that almost everybody in that city is college aged, because there are, I think, 6 colleges in the Burlington area, one of which is the University of Vermont, which is huge as far as that part of the world. There are, the freshman class has probably got 12,000 people. It's a good sized school. But so the average median age in the city is about 27. And almost everybody in the city is on Adderall. So there is a huge shortage in Burlington, Vermont. There is a huge shortage in Boston, Massachusetts. Anywhere where there are a ton of colleges is where you're really seeing the shortage of Adderall become a serious issue. But I don't want anybody to misunderstand any of this. As I say, there is a very legitimate use for this substance. It's not what we're here to talk about, because the truth is, it is the smallest percentage of people taking it. The vast majority of people who are taking it as either a study drug or a party drug. And it is also about 10 times more popular with women than it is with men. It is becoming the new housewife drug. For a very long time, the housewife drug was mother's little helper, right? There were songs about it and everything else. In the 60s, as they phased out barbiturates and came in with a new form of tranquilizer, a new form of anxiety relieving medication called benzodiazepines, the really popular drug, and probably really the reason it was so popular is because it was the first drug ever advertised. They had never advertised a prescription drug prior to diazepam, which is Valium. Guess who did it? Guess who did the advertising for that drug? A man named Arthur Sackler. If that name sounds familiar, it should. From the people who brought you OxyContin, the very first drug that they ever advertised was advertised by Arthur Sackler, and it was Valium. And it made Arthur Sackler a gazillionaire. And he has continued, he's long gone, but his relatives have continued the party by advertising drugs to people that didn't need them. Well, in the 60s, mother's little helper were the 5 milligram Valiums, the yellow ones with the V cuts in the middle. And the Rolling Stones wrote a great song about it. It was just every mother in America was on Valium. These days, almost every mother in America is on Adderall. And the house is cleaner, right? The clothing is done. Everything is ironed. And why not? You know, you got nothing but energy and the ability to hold on one second. Hey, madman, when somebody calls your phone and tells you that they're a former drug dealer, say to them, hey, man, you might want to be really careful because currently the cops are calling my phone like every 15 minutes. Yeah, since I got busted with that stuff, all they want me to do is roll over on people. And I'm pretty convinced that currently my phone is tapped. You know, they call me every 45 minutes trying to get me to set somebody up. Man, I'm a little freaked out. I assure you, your phone will stop freaking ringing. And every drug dealer will call everybody else they know and go, hey, man, stay away from that dude. Dude's hot. You want to burn a bridge, burn a bridge. Tell them that since you got busted, all you got to say is since I got busted, and they're not going to talk to you again. But if you say, since I got busted, you know, there's been a lot of talk about me trying to set people up. Watch how fast those people quit calling you. So as far as the proliferation of the mother's little helper 2.0, Adderall is becoming a drug that is super popular among housewives for a lot of reasons. And the sad thing is, if you're abusing this substance, then unlike the people who can take it for a lifetime at one dose and never have to build up any kind of tolerance, what ends up happening is they get a stronger version of Adderall. And when that doesn't work, they then go to the dextro. And then eventually they end up on Desoxyn, or they go to the street and they start buying, regular, good old fashioned crystal methamphetamine. But once you start climbing that ladder, you can build up tolerances to these drugs quickly. And the trouble is, because of its time released version, there are absolutely legitimate withdrawal symptoms from the instant stopping of taking this drug. And some of them can be pretty severe. If you've been taking it long enough and you've been taking enough of it, there are even people who present with seizures when they stop taking this stuff cold turkey. So I hope the real push that anybody that hears this is just to realize that this is not a harmless substance. Sadly, that's the reputation that it's getting. The reputation that Adderall now has is that it is just such a great drug to clean on. It is just such a great drug to study on. It turns you into Superman. It turns you into Superwoman. It gives you the energy level and the focus that everybody should be born with, and they literally are creating a myth around this drug that's dangerous. That's dangerous. And you watch. We're not going anywhere. The lifeboat's going to be here for a hot minute. And the day is coming where I am going to be saying, guess how much further we're up from that 12%. In the next year, it's going to be closer to 15. You watch. Because every freshman coming in is getting the, I desperately needed help with my daughter. She started off with Adderall and went up to heroin and now fent and meth. She is a mess. Gail Christensen, I don't know what kind of contact you have with your daughter and if your daughter's willing to talk to you or willing to talk to other people. But here's the message. If you can tell your daughter this word for word, we got a way of getting her off of that where she will not get sick. She will not go into withdrawal symptoms. There will be none of that. If she sounds interested in that, then you send me an email at sobert@myyahoo.com. SOBER@myyahoo.com. And I would be more than happy to get on the phone and talk with your daughter. And having done that substance for 30 years of my life, the one thing that you need to hear is that you can get off of it without getting sick. People don't stay on that drug because it's fun. They stay on that drug because getting off of it is the most ridiculously painful and frightening proposition in the world. If you let your daughter know that there's a way that can happen without pain, very often that's enough to spur people into giving it a try. And we're not lying. It can happen. Yeah. You know what? Every once in a while, people. Every once in a while. So this is, I have done this drug. I've abused this drug for large people, large time. There are ways other than Suboxone too, Gail. Tell you what, just send me an email and we can talk about this. There are about 6 different methods right now currently of ways to get off of opiates. But if she's doing fent, we really need to do something to try to intervene and as quickly as possible, because it's a frightening proposition. And it's interesting, people, if you heard what Gail said, because this is from a drug abuser's point of view. For someone to say, she started out taking Adderall and then ended up on heroin and fent. People that don't understand the drug game will say, doesn't make any sense at all, right? The person went from a stimulant to but very often now you get people that will get through high school smoking a little pot, drinking a few times, people that don't really get into the drug game at any level, right? And it's just, everybody experiments a little in high school and it's no big deal. Now they get freshman year in college and Adderall is becoming a gateway to harder drugs. All of a sudden, here's a prescription pill that they take and it feels great. And, they get all this energy. So when the next person says, and if you want to chill on the weekends and you don't have to study, boy, a Percocet will do, wonders. There's, the term gateway gets abused and it gets misunderstood, but anything that gives you an entree into the concept of taking pharmaceuticals as entertainment is a gateway. And Adderall right now is probably the biggest among freshmen in college of that icebreaker. Sorry. I abused Adderall for probably about 6 months. I had a friend that when I was robbing banks, I had a friend that was doing pharmacies. They would go in and drop through ceilings. They would rip off air conditioning units and drop into a pharmacy through a hole in the ceiling. And this was their go-to method of supporting their drug habit. And when they would go in, they would just steal all of the opiates and usually all of the benzos, stick them in a bag and then run. And I had a conversation with a guy once and just said, I've got a friend that was wondering if you got any Adderall or any Dizoxin or anything like that. And the person said, nah, but the next time I go in, I'll do that. And this person called me and said, hey, I got that crap if you want to come by and bring me $1,000 or $2,000. So I brought him a couple of $1,000, and I kid you not, he gave me a gym bag full of speed, everything from Ritalin to Dizoxin, and just so I ended up selling off the vast majority of it. But yeah, you know what, M. Hunt, I did too. I've thought about it so many times, but I went with banks. I thought they were safer. May sound crazy, but what I ended up with more of than anything after I sold off the majority of it and made my money and all that, what I ended up with was ridiculous amounts of Adderall. And it became a way that I could do more heroin. Probably sounds really stupid, but instead of nodding out at 10 o'clock at night, because I never nodded out after a shot or after smoking, it would just accumulate throughout the day. And by about 10 o'clock at night, I would start to nod out. To be able to stay up a couple hours later and party a little bit more, I started doing Adderall. And I did it for probably about 6 months. And I'll tell you something, that coming off of it there were issues. I mean, it was nothing like coming off of heroin, but there are definitely issues to coming off that drug. I used to vomit, which is not something that I did on anything else. And I thought maybe it was unique to me until I started doing a little research for this particular show. And apparently there are a lot of people who have serious upset stomachs start to throw up when they don't have it. And I knew a couple of people. We talked about a couple of people. If you've been on the boat long enough, we had a girl that came on last year who got pregnant and was vicious. The day she got pregnant, she's like, I'm not doing anything while I'm pregnant, nothing. So she quit smoking pot. She quit smoking or vaping. And the final thing that she quit was, one of the other things she had to quit was Adderall. And it really, really worked her. She went into unbelievable depression. If you think about, this is the way Adderall works. So you're missing a neurotransmitter that makes it difficult for you to function. So what Adderall does is release dopamine. And as we've talked about before, dopamine is great for novelty, right? If something is novel, then you really get it gives you this, right? Helps you focus on anything novel. So what Adderall does is it gives you a really serious dump of dopamine, and that dopamine helps you stay hyper-focused. Sorry, people, I'm trying to find something here. Yeah, Gail, please reach out to me. Please do that. sober@myyahoo.com. Yeah, please do that. I would love the opportunity to talk to you about your daughter. And you know what? Hope is always a reality. And I know that it feels like there are times that hope seems like there's just no chance. But if you ever sat down and had a conversation with my mother, right? Her bank robbing, dope addicted son, everybody on the planet wrote me off except my mother, right? My family was probably the only people that believed that there was any hope at all that I could get sober. And I'm here to tell you that no matter how far gone someone is, there is always hope, always. And one of the worst things about drugs is that the effect that it has on the people who aren't getting high, the way that it has to steal hope and to steal joy from the relatives of those. I know what I did to my family is incredible, but there's never, ever a complete loss of hope. There's always a chance, You know what, M. Hunt? I was that guy too. I didn't believe I could get sober. I didn't, but my family certainly never gave up hope. My whole family hates me except my mom. You know what? CK, that's difficult. On the bright side, this family here loves you. And I know that for a fact. I know that I do in a very big way. I think you're one of the kindest people that I've met since starting this journey. That's the truth. But you also don't know what the future holds. I'll get in so much crap for telling this story, but I'm going to do it anyway. When I was in jail for bank robbery, I was waiting to go to prison. I was waiting for you get arrested and you go in there and you plead not guilty, whether you want to or not. You're not even given a choice, right? In the federal system, when you go in for your arraignment, you plead not guilty. If you went in there and said, I want to plead guilty today, they'd go, oh, no, you don't. You have to plead not guilty. And there's this whole process that you have to go through. And then you can officially change your plea down the road, and you go through the pre-sentence investigation reports and all of that, blah, blah, blah. But while I was in there, I got engaged to my attorney, right? So I had someone that really cared about my case a lot more than you normally would. And my sister, I have two, my baby sister was getting married. And my attorney went to the feds and said, we would like him to be able to get out of jail just for the wedding. And what they were going to do was there was going to be an ankle monitor, which you would not have been able to see inside my pants, right? So on my ankle, there would have been an ankle monitor that you wear a little up higher, like closer to your calf so that no one can see it. And there were going to be 2 FBI agents or U.S. Marshals who were going to be dressed like anybody else at the wedding. And they would never be too far away from me to make sure that I couldn't run off. And I would have to pay for them for the day, which would probably be a couple of grand. But they were going to allow this to happen. And I was really excited that I wasn't going to miss out on my sister's wedding, because it was kind of a big deal for me. And I reached out and said, hey, you know what? We were able to pull this off. It was not easy, but they're ready to allow me to go to your wedding. And she said, you're not invited to my wedding. Yeah. So you just don't know what the future is going to bring, because currently she's one of my favorite people in the world, and the two of us get along swimmingly, but she hated me. And over enough time that has passed, we put our relationship back together better than it ever was. Truthfully, I'm closer with my baby sister than I was prior to me going off the rails. So it's but yeah, that was a pretty rugged day. Like I remember that like it was yesterday. I was so excited. I couldn't believe that we were able to pull it off, because it was one of those things that doesn't happen very often. I really wish that that I don't know. It's not something that happened very often, but we were able to make it happen. And I was about as excited as I've ever been. And boom, you're not invited. Yeah. But if you had asked me that day, are you and your sister ever going to reconcile? I would have said no. And I don't much care if we do. Like, I was really hurting from that. But there's just, you never know. And that's really what it boils down to. The future is not etched in stone. Sorry, people. So, adderall, the title that I put down, like this is the millennials' favorite drug, bar none. And sadly, it does lead to all kinds of other experimentation with other heavy pharmaceuticals. And that is dangerous. My brother seldom speaks to me. He doesn't believe I beat alcohol and never will. It doesn't bother me, though. M. Hunt, this is a brother that will take your call. Whenever you need a call me, because I'm a brother and I will answer your phone call. And I believe that you're going to beat alcohol, and that it's going to be one of the great triumphs of your life. And I'm blown away at the guy you are when you're sober. You really are you're a great guy, and I mean that. Means you have, and I don't know if I've said this on the air before. I probably have said it in an email, but if you do this and you've got, we got almost 4,000 people here, and of the 4,000 people, good to see you, Uncle Bill. Of the 4,000 people, honestly, about 2,000 of them probably I've had some interaction with. About 2,000 of them just watch the show and are very quiet or whatever. But probably 2,000 of whom I deal with on a regular basis. But it's you just get attached to some people in different ways. I don't know how to explain it, but it's not that their story's better. It's not that there's just something about certain people. When you deal with people all the time, there's something that just sort of gets you and gets a hold of you. And M. Hunt, you're one of those people, right? From the very, very beginning of you coming on and emailing me and everything else, you're just a person that when I think of the lifeboat, M. Hunt, you're a person that if it were to all end tomorrow, you would be a name that would most assuredly stick with me, because it's just, I don't know, there's just something there, and I'm so happy that you're sober. I cannot even begin to tell you, and I mean that. I have a case of water and an 8-pack of Gatorade instead of alcohol. I fully intend. Let's see what just happened there. I fully intend to do this. I may pull on you all, but I'm going to feel safe enough to. Hey, we'll be here. That's sort of the nature of all this. My days are structured around the boat these days. I look forward to it more than any drink. God, I love that. I really do. I absolutely love that. I really do. Joe. Good to see you, Joe. Joe that you know. Good to see you. I hope you're not working yourself to death, man. I tend to make ice cream with most of my water. All righty, peeps. So if you've got people in your life who bring up Adderall, if you got people in your life who refer to it like it's a harmless way to continue to study, it's not. It's not at all. It's not coffee. It's not no-dose. It is a very serious amphetamine. It is a very serious cocktail of multiple amphetamines in a released formula, and it's not by any stretch of the imagination harmless. In fact, it may be one of the more dangerous drugs that millennials are abusing these days. And honestly, stuff makes me nervous. It really does. You know what, peeps? I'm going to be cutting it early today, and someday I'll tell you why. But I'm not going to tell you why today. So I apologize, but this one's going to be a little bit short. Got an issue or two I need to address, I think. Yeah. Miss V, I'm glad that you're not on any of this stuff either. I really am. Proud of you, V. V's getting up to do this. People, if you knew, this is going on for a very, very long time. I've been doing the lifeboat now a couple of years, and when I remember the first time I started talking about doing an early morning show, before I got the sentence out of my mouth, Miss V said, "I'm not getting up that early." And it has been a fairly consistent thing. I'm super impressed every time I look out on the deck and I see your name. All right, peeps. Let's keep fighting the good fight, huh? Don't Don't ever stop fighting the good fight. And you know what? There are people along the way who are going to bring you down. There are people along the way who are going to make you question everything you're doing. There are people along the way who are going to make you feel like you're not worth it, or they're taking advantage of you, or whatever the case may be. Never let somebody get you off the path that you're supposed to be on. And if you begin to feel that way, reach out to somebody else. Reach out to the people in your life that you can trust. And you know what? The boat will be here. That I promise you. The boat will always be here. The cat, on the other hand, will take the occasional morning off. Squirrel Nut Zipper is hunting mice in the garage. She got one the other day, so she's going to be on full hunt mode now for a while. All right, peeps. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. I'll see you tonight on the deck. All right. Love y'all. Have a great day.